Just a second there, Tucker. We also know that the president can continue to do the work of the American people. In fact, within the hour, I saw that he approved an emergency declaration for the state of New York. So the business of the people does continue. Yes, there is also the political angle to this. What happens moving forward? We do know that right around the end of the 14-day quarantine, the president is supposed to be taking part in another town hall debate with the former Vice President Joe Biden. We heard from the campaign today that they're considering some changes to the format. Perhaps that will move forward, perhaps not. We simply don't know. But right now, everyone is wondering, how is the president of the United States? We do know, based on what we've heard from his doctors, that he is resting comfortably. He has been feeling some symptoms, but as you also played there in the video, he seems to be feeling fine, and he's hoping to recover quickly. One last thing I can tell you this, Tucker. We also saw on Twitter a number of world leaders express their support for the president and the First Lady, among them Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of the UK. As you know, he also is recovering from COVID-19. Tucker?
Kevin Cork for us, outside Walter Reed in Bethesda, Maryland. Thank you, Kevin. The White House physician said today that the president has received an experimental antibody treatment from the biotech company Regeneron. He's also taking zinc, vitamin D, daily aspirin, as well as a cocktail of other drugs. So what do we know as of tonight, as of right now, about the president's condition? We do know the White House has extensive medical treatment facilities, but he has been moved to a hospital. What does that tell us, if anything? Dr. Mark Siegel is a Fox News medical contributor. He's been following him since the beginning. He joins us tonight. Doctor, good to see you.
Tucker, I have to tell you that over the years, I watch people in terms of how they respond to illness when I'm treating them. And COVID-19 is no exception to that. I've been watching my patients recover from it. I'm very heartened today to see how the president is responding to begin with cheer, with strength, with courage. And maybe we can get some national healing out of this. That would be really great. Now, in the hospital, we all know that he's taking monoclonal antibodies, Regeneron's product. Early studies seem to show that it boosts your immune response and decreases the amount of virus. We know that people with low amounts of vitamin D don't do as well, so he's taking vitamin D. We've heard and looked at some studies that show that zinc helps. More zinc decreases the amount of virus in your body. Also aspirin. We've had a lot of blood clotting problems with COVID-19, which I've talked to you about. The fact is that he's on an aspirin. Looks like a lot of careful consideration went into this. Now, what is he doing in the hospital? You know, people are worried about that. But as Kevin just said, it's a big suite, and it's a matter of a precaution. He may, in fact, be doing quite well. But why would we want to observe him? We want to see what his oxygen level is, Tucker. We want to see that his heart rate is okay. And I mentioned already, want to make sure no blood clotting is forming and no inflammation is going on. All of that is a matter of precaution. It is not a sign of a severe illness. It may very well still be a mild illness and a precautionary one. But the whole country is looking here, and I am hoping that both sides of the political aisle will say, not criticism, not anything, but the president is standing up against illness. Let's all be with him and wish him and pray for a very rapid recovery, Tucker.
Amen. So you've treated coronavirus patients. You've watched this disease since it first landed here in the United States. Tell us the typical course of it in a man the president's age. At what point will we know he's on the upswing or the downswing?
So that's a really important question. And his age of 74, you know, even at the age of 74, about 95% get full recoveries. You know, less than 5% die from this, even in his age. A little bit on the overweight side, that concerns me, but he doesn't have other pre-existing conditions, which is great. Doesn't have diabetes, doesn't have renal failure, doesn't have known heart disease or lung disease, all of which bodes well here. But he came in with the initial symptoms of fatigue, reported fatigue, fever, and some cough. That's very classic. But what I'm going to be looking for over the next several days is, do those things get worse? Those symptoms get worse? Does the fever get worse? Does the fatigue get worse? How are his lungs doing? How is his breathing? And again, his heart and his kidneys and his brain also. But the major organs of the body, how are they doing? And how is his breathing going? That's what we'll be watching. And also his courage to fight illness, which we're already seeing on display, Tucker.
Right. I mean, I don't think anyone's surprised by that. So by Monday, you think we'll have a better sense of how this illness is progressing?
Yes, because as we've talked about here extensively, this is not one illness, it's two illnesses. Illness number one is the virus. Illness number 2 is the damage it can do in terms of inflammation in the lungs and the other side effects. We should be able to know by about Monday or Tuesday whether those complications are kicking in or not. And that's why he's there, for precautionary purposes. We should be able to tell by the beginning of next week. We'll still want to see him monitored closely for days after that, but by the beginning of next week, we'll see which direction.
Good. Thank you for clarity on that.
I'm
Dr.
optimistic.
Siegel, great to see you. In just a few moments, we'll be joined by the president's oldest son, Don Jr. Of course, across the world tonight, people are praying that we will learn good news about the president's condition. Over at CNN, however, we were told again and again that the president deserved the sickness that he got, and they trotted out the usual hacks to explain why he deserved it.
A lot of people have been put in jeopardy by the president's behavior, and now we've learned, of course, this morning that one of those people is the president himself.
But he just couldn't get over the fact that in his mind, the mask equals weakness, equals I'm not on top of this virus.
So perhaps a bit of a shock this morning for Americans, but not necessarily a surprise.
It is also the most vivid possible demonstration of the incompetence and the irresponsibility of the administration.
In large part, it's his own dereliction is partly to blame for this. He chose to go out to rallies.
Imagine. He just announced he was infected. He just got to Walter Reed. He deserved it. They didn't wait long. Of course, millions of Americans have been diagnosed with the coronavirus, probably people you know, probably people in your family. We can say that. Hundreds of thousands have died. CNN's expert panelists are saying they all deserved it. They must have. They were careless. They were derelict in their duties. If there was a lesson from the coverage of this, it's a very familiar lesson. The media class is willing to attack the rest of the country if they think it will hurt the president they despise, if they think it will give them more political power. And of course, it wasn't just the media. In fact, the official message of the Democratic Party is that Donald Trump had it coming.
We all receive that news with great sadness. I always pray for the president and his family that they're safe. I continue to do so more intensified. This is tragic. It's very sad. But it also is something that again, going into crowds, unmasked and all the rest, was sort of a brazen invitation for something like this to happen.
Brazen invitation. He asked for it. He was dressed provocatively. That's what Nancy Pelosi just told you. Many other Democrats are echoing that sentiment. Rick Leventhal has been following this reaction from the Democratic Party. He joins us tonight to explain more. Rick?
Hey, Tucker, there are a lot of people